How glad the many millions of Annabelles and Lillians would be to capture me. But you had such persistence, you wore down my resistance. I fell, and it was swell.
Frank Sinatra was born on December 12, 1915, in a Coldwater flat in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Apparently during his birth, the doctors believed he wasn't alive, so while they tended to his mother, his grandmother picked him up, put him under cold water, and he willed out his first song.
Frank Sinatra began his career as a young boy, singing at various clubhouses and roadhouses during the night and delivering newspapers during the day.
Blue moon, you saw me.
In 1935, Frank Sinatra joined three other local musicians who were known as the Three Flashes,
thus becoming the Hoboken Four, and on September 8th, they sang the Mills Brothers song Shine
and auditioned for Amateur Hour and got in.
We have now the Hoboken Four. Who will speak for the group?
I will. I'm Frank. We're looking for jobs. How about it?
Folks will shine up to you. Everybody's gonna hide you, do you? You'll make the whole world shine.
And it became so popular that 40,000 people called in to say how much they enjoyed it.
The Hoboken Four toured around the U.S., but Sinatra, feeling a little rejected and homesick, decided to go back home to Hoboken, where he continued to do small gigs.
Please adore me. And when I looked, the moon had turned to gold.
Sinatra joined WENW Radio in 1938 and sang at Radio House.
He was also very popular with the ladies. Staring into girls' eyes in the audience with his blue eyes caught a ton of hearts.
His bad boy image came from his infamous 1938 mugshot. After one of his girlfriends attacked his fiancée, he was charged on adultery and seduction charges.
June 1939, Harry James of the Harry James Orchestra wanted Sinatra to join him for $75 a week, coming out with his hit single All or Nothing in August 1939.
Then the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra wanted him, so Harry James tore up Frank Sinatra's contract and he went off to play with one of the biggest big band groups in America.
When it comes to music, millions say, yes, indeed, Tommy Dorsey.
Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Sinatra, Joe Stafford, and the Pied Pipers in Just As Though You Were Here. All right, Frankie?
Just as though you were here.
When purple shadows start to welcome the dark, I'll take the same old stroll.
Though in 1942 Frank Sinatra wanted to go solo, but Tommy Dorsey wasn't as gracious as Harry James and said that if he was going to leave, he would take 1/3 of all of his earnings. Frank Sinatra hired lawyers to represent him and had Tom Dorsey leave with $75,000.
As a soloist, Sinatra was welcomed by 5,000 Bobby Soxers, which were the teenage girls of the 1940s. In the New York Paramount Theater in December 30th, 1942, he beat Bing Crosby's attendance record,
Thus being nicknamed The Voice, and was signed to Columbia Records in 1943.
In 1944, his wife gave birth to Frank Jr. and they moved to the West Coast.
Sinatra began appearing in more films such as Higher and Higher and Step Lively, and even co-starred with Gene Kelly in Anchors Away.
Yeah, I know, but what time is it? What did Lola say? Well, that's too bad about you too, sister. Hey, don't hang up on me. Let's leave a note, will you? Tell her I'll call at 10. Honest, Joe, I can explain the whole thing. Just give me a second, I can explain it. You see, you were sleeping like a baby, and I didn't want to disturb you. See, I know you need to rest very badly. Honest, you do. I noticed you don't look good so much lately. Joe, help! 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 Joe, help!
He also starred in a short film, The House I Live in 1945, about racial and religious intolerance, which won him an Honorable Academy Award in 1946.
In 1946, Frank Sinatra embarked on his first tour for his first album, The Voice of Frank Sinatra.
After a 5-year slump due to negative publicity and rumors, Frank Sinatra made a rebound and recorded Fly Me to the Moon, which became a major hit.
He then signed an NBC multi-million-dollar contract in 1957, and in 1958, his Come Fly With Me album came and hit #1 on Billboard charts, and stayed there for 5 weeks.
Around the 1960s, he joined the Rat Pack with Dean Martin, Sammy Davis, Joe Bishop, and Peter Lawford, and became famous singing on the stages of Las Vegas.
He continued to star in movies and released his album Strangers in the Night that hit #1 on billboards, and it stayed there for 73 weeks, having My Way as a signature song in 1969.
In 1971, Sinatra announced his retirement only to be back 2 years later. In 1973, he released his album Old Blue Eyes Is Back, and he performed in Las Vegas at the Caesars Palace in 1974.
In 1976, Frank Sinatra married Barbara Max, a Vegas showgirl, and remained married for the rest of Sinatra's life. They toured around worldwide and raised hundreds of millions of dollars for charity.
In 1994, he performed his last public concert and was awarded the Legend Award at the Grammys.
The King of New York City, Francis Albert Sinatra.
That's the best welcome I ever had.
He sadly made no more appearances after a heart attack that happened in January of 1997. And in 1998, on May 14th, he died in Los Angeles at the age of 82.
U.S. Congress marked May 13th as Frank Sinatra Day to honor him for American contribution to music in 2008.
Put Your Dreams Away was Frank Sinatra's closing songs after every single concert that he had.
Let your kiss confess this is happiness, darling, and put all your dreams away. Good night, everybody.